To our webinar, Transformative Planning, Forecasting, and Reporting for Banks and Credit Unions. I'm Andrew Ross from Performance Analytics, a Gold OneStream implementation partner. And with me today, I have Stephen Cromwell and Brandon Beam from OneStream. Together in this webinar, we will show you how OneStream for Banks and Credit Unions provides a comprehensive unified cloud solution to address your current challenges. We're able to provide this to you as OneStream is a single solution to manage all your data from regulatory reporting, planning, detailed balance sheet planning, including funds transfer pricing, amortization, and detailed instrument cash flow runoff and scenario modeling. In addition, we will share with you how Performance Analytics is uniquely positioned to help you implement and realize the value of OneStream for banking. In our webinar today, I'll take 10 minutes to walk you through an introduction to Performance Analytics and review some of the challenges that we are seeing with banks and credit unions. I'll then turn it over to Stephen and Brandon for the next 40 minutes, who will provide you with an introduction to OneStream and a demonstration of OneStream for banking. After the demo, I'll wrap up this webinar with an overview of Performance Analytics Implementation Accelerator, Perform FI, and then I'll open it up for questions. If you have any questions during this webinar, please just enter your questions in the chat window as we go along. As well, if you need to, you can also adjust your screen for the slides that are being demonstrated. As mentioned at the opening, I'm Andrew Ross, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today and share my experiences implementing corporate performance management solutions and OneStream with you. I currently lead performance analytics services for financial institutions. My career has been focused in on consulting, advising, and running corporate performance management implementations with years of project experience and many projects within financial institutions of various sizes, such as National Bank, PC Financial here in Canada, and one more recent project with Beacon Trust in the US, which is about 4 billion assets under management. With me today, I'm pleased to have Stephen Cromwell, a senior solution consultant with OneStream. With over 12 years experience in finance technology space, Stephen has worked with many organizations across many functions in finance, including CPM, accounts payable, procurement, analytics, to help them realize the value of technology solutions. Also today, delivering the demonstration is Brandon Beam, a senior solution consultant with OneStream. Brandon brings over 10 years experience in technology for finance across financial services industries, including customer success, implementations in the largest financial institutions around the world. Founded over 20 years ago, Performance Analytics has grown to be a leading provider of advisory and implementation services in corporate performance management solutions. With 350 plus successful projects from all major industries delivered by our 20 plus consultants, Performance Analytics prides itself on making every client a referenceable client. Of the 20 plus consultants, Performance Analytics has a deep bench strength of banking experts who understand the challenges that face banks and credit unions. Our experts bring years of experience with corporate performance management solutions, delivering these solutions for banks and credit unions. Using solutions like OneStream and other technologies like INEA, Axiom, Hyperion, and Longview, they leverage this knowledge and have created a banking implementation accelerator built on top of the OneStream platform, designed to accelerate your implementation with pre-built functionality built on leading practices with a defined roadmap for implementation. We refer to this as Perform FI, but more about that later. Performance Analytics has worked with a number of customers in a variety of industries. Like OneStream, Performance Analytics is very proud of the fact that their clients are referenceable. And over the past 20 years, Performance Analytics has worked with a number of financial services companies from Scotiabank to Coast Capital Savings to Steinbach Credit Union to Fairfax Financial to Element Financial Corp and TMX. This is in addition to the 70+ years experience our consultants have implementing corporate performance management solutions for many of North America's largest banks and credit unions. The challenges banks and credit unions are facing, we're going to focus in on three major challenges facing them today. The first, a changing environment. With rising interest rates, negative yield curve, and a volatile market, your challenge is to produce a plan that is consistent with where the organization is today and where it plans to be. You need to be able to be quick to adapt, to churn through a forecast in short order. This requires frequent forecasting with different scenarios, and you need the ability to model with complex calculations on large volumes of data. Driven by your existing loan book, the associated cash flow runoff to project interest assets and liability balances and determine the expected yields. One of our performance analytics multinational clients came to us at the start of COVID with a request from their CFO to create a daily forecast, as they needed to throw out their existing approach and start with something new. Using OneStream, which they had implemented for financial reporting, within 9 days, performance analytics team, along with the OneStream team, stood up their daily forecasting, including all of the associated financial reports. In a few minutes, Brendan will walk you through an example of how you can complete your own forecast in OneStream for banking. Another challenge facing the Office of the CFO is the changing regulatory reporting requirements. To avoid bank failures and avoid risks with runoffs and withdrawals, regulatory changes are happening. You need to be ready for these changes, which creates challenges due to the time constraints and the need to source and reference large amounts of data to complete the necessary analysis and reports required. This could require you to create interest rate sensitivity analysis using multiple scenarios of interest rate projections, or you might need to adjust the provision for credit losses to lending business units based on loss history, collateral, and customer credit ratings. In our demo today, we will walk you through an example of how you can make assumptions to generate a new scenario with a few top-down assumptions. Cost management. Currently, banks are looking for opportunities to reduce operating costs and streamline operations, whether it's headcount reductions or selling off assets. You need to be able to move quickly and decisively to make the necessary decisions to realize these opportunities. To achieve this, you need the ability to plan at a detailed resource level and to make top-line assumptions to produce different scenarios supported by allocations to push across business units and products, leveraging customer account attributes and transactional activity to align with the consumption of resources. In the demo, you will see an example of forecasting at operational costs. To address these challenges, you will require large volumes of data about your loan books, credit cards, deposits, accounts. Thus, we typically see banks and credit unions employ several point-specific systems augmented by spreadsheets and standalone data stacks to patch together their financial reporting and analytical processes. With Performance Analytics Banking Implementation Accelerator, PerformFI, and the OneStream platform, you can realize economies of scale from having all teams in the Office of the CFO on a single OneStream solution, providing faster, more complete analysis to manage these workload challenges, eliminating time wasted, resolving conflicts, and shorten your time to delivery with a proven implementation roadmap to achieve accurate analytics and reporting. Now I'll turn it over to Stephen to provide you with an overview of OneStream. Stephen?
Oh, apologies. There was an additional mute going on here. So yeah, I'm going to turn things over to Brandon here for in a couple of minutes, but I do want to do a quick introduction to OneStream. So OneStream provides a performance management platform to help customers better manage, their organization. Now, historically, performance management has been focused on two things. One, the what's happened, closing the books, establishing the book of record, getting all of the reporting done. And then if you just click here, yep, and then what could happen, doing all of your planning, budgeting, and forecasting. Now, one thing that we're seeing a big push for is this ability to not just look at what's happened and what's going to happen, but really look at what's happening now using operational details. We call it financial signaling. We've been kind of pivoting to a term called CPM plus, where really what it amounts to is leveraging operational and transactional details to know where you are in the process at any given time without having to wait for end of month. Really using insights to steer the business more nimbly so that you can make changes before it's too late. Next slide. So historically, performance management has been modularized within a suite of solutions or applications. There could be multiple solutions related to close and consolidation. There can be multiple more solutions related to the planning, budgeting, and forecasting. These need to be tied into one or more reporting applications. And then also there's a dimensionality that needs to be considered as well. So these single applications typically aren't robust enough to meet the needs of every aspect of the organization. So you have to buy multiple instances and merge them together, or detailed work needs to be done in Excel and pushed into these tools so that everything can come together in a uniform way. So dimensionality is a huge consideration. Now, the end goal is to get the right information to the right people at the right time and in the right format. And there's a lot of complication. And the biggest complication, of course, is tying all of these systems together and moving the data back and forth. For example, you need to get your actuals into your budget system to establish a baseline for driver-based planning, or you need to bring your actuals and your budget information together to do a proper variance report. Now, we have a value transformation team here at OneStream that estimate that nearly 80% of the work is done here in this tying together of the system, and it creates a vast amount of what we call technical debt, which is just being on the hook to pay for, troubleshoot, fix, upgrade, and otherwise manage this web that you see here. Next slide. So this is the problem that OneStream has been extremely successful at solving. So we, rather than having multiple solutions, we have a single platform that enables our organizations to house all of their performance management in a single application. So we can bring in data from all over the organization, from ERPs and any other systems that are important in managing the business. We clean that data up, and then we use it across multiple processes. So we can use it across close and consolidation, planning, budgeting, and forecasting, reporting. And through our solution exchange, there's customers doing so much more in addition to just the traditional CPM stuff. Next slide. So just a few notes about who we are. We started about a dozen years ago. We have over 1,200. I think we're actually getting closer to 1,300 customers now. One thing I'd like to share here is that we focus on a number of verticals because the flexible nature of our platform allow us to meet the unique use cases of really any vertical, including banking and finance. Next slide. So I've used the term platform just a couple of times. How do we define platform? We define it in the simplest term possible. We are simply software on which you can build software. So we provide a framework and building blocks so that our customers, along with our partners like Performance Analytics, can tailor the platform to enable our customers to manage their business the way they want. And the building blocks of the platform provide data quality, financial intelligence, and an unmatched level of extensibility and scalability to allow complex organizations to meet each and every one of their needs within a single application. Next slide. Oops. Thank you. So here are just a couple of examples of customers in the financial services and banking sector. So Capital One, for example, used OneStream to replace many manual Hyperion and Excel-driven processes, and they shortened their overall time for both monthly outlook as well as the close process. Ally uses OneStream and is realizing over 190 hours of time savings each forecast cycle, not to mention the fact that they were able to move over 500 reports from various systems into OneStream as a single source of truth for all their data. So those are just a couple of examples. So if you go to the next slide, I think this is the time when we're going to go ahead and transfer it over to Brandon for the actual demo so you can see the OneStream platform in action and some of the art of the possible for what we can do with banking.
Fantastic. Appreciate the conversation there, Stephen, and the intro to OneStream. First and foremost, just want to make sure that everyone can see the screen that I'm showing right now.
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect. So, what I'm going to walk through today is really art of the possible within the OneStream platform and how we see some of our financial services customers using OneStream. Very important to note is that our platform, as Stephen just mentioned, is very configurable. So what you see today, if you see something that doesn't quite fit what you're doing at your institution, that's completely fine, right? This is configurable, and our partners configure to what makes sense to you. That's really what one of the benefits of OneStream is, that we are configurable and flexible, and we don't fit you into a box. We build the box around your solution and your business. So as I walk through today, one of the beauties of OneStream is really getting the right information to the right people at the right time. So any screen that you see me walk through today, that can be where you start in the application. You can configure everything from what you see on the image here to the KPIs you're looking at. We have a nice workflow built in. This is what makes sense in terms of the demo that we're showing. This workflow can be tailored to your business, and everyone can see the information. One of the worst things about any new platform is you log in, you get lost. All you want to do is see a report or a certain dashboard, and it takes you 10 clicks to get there. We eliminate that. We want to make this easy to use. So if an executive logs in and just wants to see a dashboard, when they log in, that can be the screen they see. All the way down to the analyst level, if they want to see some of the more balance sheet planning when they log in, they can see that, and we make it easy to navigate around the application. So how I'm going to go through the demonstration today is really through this workflow, and you'll see that what we wanted to make very clear is consistency of use, and we also want this to be finance owned. One of the keys of OneStream is finance owned, so you're not constantly waiting on IT to do these things. So what you're going to see me walk through today, these things can be built by you in the Office of Finance without, again, taking on a lot of technical debt, having an incredible coding background, or even having to wait on IT for those pieces. And so what I'll walk through starting with is kind of, hey, when I come in, what's important to me? So looking at visualizations in OneStream, my dashboard that's going to pop up here, this is something we see as you can come in, right, and you can really understand where your business sits and what's important to you, kind of the snapshot of everything that's going on. And again, this is very configurable. As you can see, we can change divisions, and all of these are configurable as well, whether it be divisions, entities, branch locations, right? Are we looking at our budget or our actual month to date, year to date, which month? We can go all the way down even into your chart of accounts. So you can see really at the most granular level, all the way down to even a branch level here, where your performance is. So it's giving you more transparency and active live data, live looks in, rather than waiting till the end of the month or having to have 50 different tabs in Excel just to see nothing different, same exact pieces, just a different slice, right? Whether it be division or entity. And here you can see we're really just showing some KPIs. So we can handle all those KPIs from our efficiency ratio, even all the way down to some of the other pieces, return on equity. We can see all those within the platform. We can make those calculations. We always get the question, where is the data coming from? Within OneStream, we can get that data from really anywhere, whether that be integrating with the API, whether that be an SFTP, whether that be just be a spreadsheet or manual form entry. We can integrate all of that data in, and we'll talk about that a little more, and house that data in a way that makes sense and in a way that allows you to dig down into it, right? So if you look, kind of what we're seeing here is everything in OneStream. These aren't just your charts and graphs that are kind of your static information. As you hover over these, you have interactions. As I were to click a certain period, right? This is just a certain month net interest income. You can see that I get different slices of that data and visualizations. We can bring in the scorecard data, right? Integrate with that third party so you can see where you stand, based on your peer group. So we can integrate really any of the data that is needed for you to be able to do what you need to do in a certain process. Not only that, we're not a black box of information. If I'm looking at interest income here, great, that's a good number, but a lot of times you want to be able to understand that more or dig down into it if you have a question. We're not a black box within OneStream. I can come in and always understand what's going down. So I can look even more detail. If I want to see what's going on with my interest income, I can dive down into that. Very quickly, I can now see a visualization of where I was historically and what my budget looks like moving forward. I can see the breakdown of that investment interest and that interest income all the way down to this lowest level. I can also see that geographically, right, across all of my different regions. So we give you the ability to always dig down into your data without sacrificing performance, without you having to be very technical and understand where that data is or pull it out into Excel and run a pivot as we're all common doing. We give you that ability directly within the platform. And again, this is configurable. If we're looking at, just a few more visualizations, we always talk about the walk. Everyone likes to see a nice waterfall. We certainly can support that. So as I come into, any statement, right, any piece of data, I can have a nice visualization built out. If I, look at service charges, I can see where's the walk. What happened for me to get to my budget, to my actual. We can even do things like maps. Being able to see if you have a lot of branches and you want to understand that, right? This is kind of how we see some executives want to come in. I see all of my locations. I want to be able to click on any one of these and see how they're performing. Quickly and easily, you see that we can do that and still dive down even more into that information. So we're not just, if you think of OneStream, we are a platform. We get asked the question, are you a visualization, consolidation, view planning? And the answer is yes. We want to be a platform that allows you to understand and run your business the way that you want to, give you the visualizations of your data that you want, and not just build what we have and kind of make you guys fit into that. Moving on a little bit, we know everyone has binders, right? So some of the less flashy things, but very important to talk about. And the reason I like to call this out is a lot of times these binders or my report books take time to do as data changes, or you have an Excel and you have to worry about printing it, then sending out via email. All of this can be done automatically within OneStream. We have our executive review. We have our, not only our, our end of month balance sheet, but also our average balance sheet. And all of this is generated based on the work you're already doing. As your numbers update, these will update as well. You can send these out via email. We can schedule this with our parcel services. So every Monday morning, 6 a.m., this gets sent out to whoever it may be that needs to see this within the organization. And it can be any of really these visualizations in here. But these aren't just, again, static numbers. If you were in here and you were like, well, how did I calculate my yield on earnings assets? You're always going to be able to navigate down and not only see where that data comes from, but you can see I can also understand how it's calculated directly within the platform. So something looking at, looking at our average daily balances, right? We're going to show you the calculation. We can perform those, show you all of the different children or all the different pieces of that calculation so that, again, you can answer the questions that you may have. You can dig into it the way that you want to. So really kind of table stakes, right? Binder, everyone has a binder. We can do that. We can automate and take some of that non-value added work out, of your day-to-day process. Not only that, but, more on the reporting. We know everyone has reports that they do, whether it be weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually. We know all of those exists. We'll go into customers and they'll say, we have 100 reports that we do in some sort of frequency. And how we think of reports in OneStream is, again, you see, right, flexibility. I can change a lot of different, levers and pull different levers up here and change what data I'm seeing in here. Not only that, but we think about this as more of, I don't need 100 different tabs in Excel or to store 100 reports in my, whatever tool I'm using. Really, you just need to store a few different reports with different slices. So really, we look at this as, what types of rows do you want? What types of columns? And these can be, again, configurable. And the beauty of this is they can also be configurable by your different region or entities. So if I come in here, let's say my branch or entity has 10 reports that we do, right? I would see those types of columns and rows here. If another individual came in and they had 20 reports, they would see all of those here as well based on the selections they've made up here. So there is a relationship. You're not just going to come in and see, here's 100 reports when I only care about 3 or 4. There's a relationship built in, again, to reduce some of that clutter and that non-value add time of sifting through and making those reports. So that's a little on, we'll call it the dashboarding and reporting side of how we see some of our companies using OneStream. What I'll move into next is really the planning aspect. And there's a few different ways that we talk about planning within OneStream. And where I'm going to really start here is on the, we'll call it strategic side, right? So more of that top line strategic planning. I'm looking out my 12, 24, 36 months. And what we do is really driver-based planning here. So you can see some of these drivers that we're looking at, again, very configurable. And as we hit these particular numbers of these drivers, we can model out what we see down below. Now notice, right, our EBITDA is only 5 line items up here. We know it's much more in real life, right? Thousands of accounts that roll up to one parent, that roll up to another parent. Within OneStream, we give you the ability to plan at any level you would like. You don't have to seed 10,000 lower accounts just to do your strategic plan, which is what we hear a lot and why it's kind of done once a year. It takes a long time. We reduce that time to value and allow you to do this more frequently. And you can see we model all the way down here in this particular case. We're looking at free cash flow. So as we make changes up here via, you can type these in, you can import them from Excel, you can copy different scenarios. You can also use our spreading techniques here that have math built in so that you don't have to come in, right? No one's really going to come in and add different numbers for all of this. We have a nice spreading menu that allows you to make some of those changes, whether it be increase, decrease by a factor, spread it proportionally based on what's already there, just fill it in, right? I think this is gonna be 5% for the whole year. We allow you to do those things just a bit easier within OneStream. Not only that, maybe you don't want to plan by driver. You're more of, hey, I want to plan by account. So if I come down here and say, the drivers look great, but I don't think maybe my customer interest received is gonna be closer to 200 million. You can make that change here as well at this high level account without seeding the lower level accounts and understand how that's going to affect your strategic plan. We also give you a nice visualization. If you're like me, if I'm just looking at a bunch of numbers, maybe it's hard for me to really visualize the space between, which we know is very important. Here, visually, I can see where I'm at with my different scenarios. And again, these are configurable based on what you guys need. And once we do this, what you can also do is allocate this down. Maybe allocate it to a target scenario. So as others are working on kind of that budget going throughout the year, now I can see where am I at compared to the target, right? Where am I at compared to my upside scenario or my downside or my baseline scenario? So you can kind of work towards those as the year goes on. But importantly, you know that everyone is looking at the same numbers because we're using one platform. So that's really kind of on the strategic side of things, really that higher level planning. And that forays nicely into our predictive analytics. Very hot topic. Now, predictive is something that's built into OneStream. Now, this is not kind of that machine learning conversation. We certainly have machine learning, but that's kind of a different conversation. This is really looking at historical data and then predicting out using models. So if we take a look at any one of these, what you're going to notice within here is that we have 10 to 12 different built-in models. You see seasonal here. When I look at GDP, it's looking more at, I believe it was Holt Winters or seasonal here, right? We come down to different pieces. So the reason I call this out is we're not just using one model. We're using the model that makes the most sense for this particular driver. This can also be accounts as well. So as we kind of do this, what this will do is run your historical data and come back in and say, based on your historical data, which model fit the best, and then model that out over whatever time frame you're looking at. In that case, 60 months. And again, configurable in here, the beauty is this is built into the platform. You don't have to send your data to another engine and then take the results and pipe it in to OneStream. You can do this directly in the application built in on the platform. Now, where we see most of our customers using this is, right, they'll create this kind of predictive analytics scenario. And if I hop back into my strategic planning, what you're going to notice is now we actually have that as one of the scenarios that we can look at. So we have our upside, we have our downside, we have our baseline, and we have our predictive. So now we can say, hey, let's take a little bit of that analytics side using those models. Where do we stand based on where the model thinks we are? So just giving you more insight into your data and where you stand based on some historical models that have proved to be pretty accurate. And I think we have about 10 to 12 of those currently, and you saw a few in there. So that's a little bit on the strategic, right? Using some of that predictive analytics. And now getting into more of that, that balance sheet planning, what we're kind of really, taking a look at, and what really makes sense. So really getting out of that corporate FP&A role, more into that divisional, or market FP&A, where you're looking at specific markets and using that local knowledge you have. Quickly and easily, we see what product we're looking at, what type here. And the whole goal of this was to really give you levers to pull. I mean, this is really just your volume and rate modeling, but we give you different levers, whether that be, hey, which interest rate are we using? CMT, LIBOR, SOFR, and can we make adjustments to that? Maybe at a local level, I know that personally, I can get 100 basis points on, this particular mortgage. Maybe someone else can get 50, right? And they can have the ability to add some context to what's already been put here by maybe the corporate team. So really, this is all about being able to pull different levers, not only the interest rate, right? FTP rates down here, we can pull those in. That's kind of a hot topic right now. So just being able to pull levers and give you the ability to plan more granularly. And what that's really doing here is we're kind of starting to model out, just like you saw before, right? We have some drivers and we're modeling out what that impact is going to be on our balance sheet. So, here we have, just kind of walking down this, as you see, we have our beginning balance here. We also have runoff and amortization built into this. We know this is planning, so we're looking at the future, but we also have amortization and runoff, kind of runoff mostly, built into our existing book of business. So we know we have, right, our new balance, we have some additional balance that may be added in there. We see our runoff, we have our ending balance, all the way down, even looking into that net interest margin here. So, again, we have runoff. I think what's nice about that is we know people pay off things differently, right? Whether it's the rates, is there, they may be playing slower or faster, is there penalties? So really being able to build all of this in here and understand where we're getting, not just our balance sheet, our interest expense and interest income, obviously down to the net interest margin as well. Now, as I click on this, what you may have seen pop up, on the bottom of the screen here is some information that can, give us more detail on this balance. And this really gets into what makes OneStream stand apart from some other platforms, is the ability to give you a look into more of that relational type of data, right? So, if you talk about, this may be a black box, right? I don't know what makes this number up. I know it's a total. Within OneStream, we give you the ability to bring in all of that, more operational or more transactional level data without sacrificing performance. So you can see all the way down to what makes up this beginning balance right within the application, but it's not going to slow things down. And that's based on how we actually store this. But if you, are familiar with other platforms and you may have slow performance when you try to bring all of this data in, we're not going to have that because we allow you to store this data how it makes sense. This, you put this into any sort of cube, it's going to blow up and be very, very slow because it's just a lot of data. We store that where it should be stored, more of a relational table. We still give you access to all this data without sacrificing performance. We always get asked the question, where do you get the rates from? We can integrate this in here, right? So we have driver tables. We can, pull from treasury systems, any third-party tools, right? You can see not only our interest rates, but those FTP rates as well. So we can actually bring those in and be able to do some calculations, right? So we can take those FTP rates, apply them to the balance, calculate your interest expense, right? Do things such as pool funding. So those are some of the things that we allow you to do within the platform, really kind of looking at more of that balance sheet FTP, type of planning. So jumping out of kind of, we've looked at the reporting, kind of the actuals, right? Bring our data in, give us a sense where we're at. We've talked about planning. So let's take a little bit look on more of a detail looking at a model. Now, this is a credit card model. And again, we know not everyone's going to have a credit card model. But what I really want to show here is the fact that we have the ability to do models within OneStream. And just kind of walking down what we're looking at here, you can see that consistency of use. We have drivers, we have data, and we want to see visualizations from it. If we take a look at our drivers here, right, really we're just modeling this out, drivers kind of based on attrition rates by FICO score. We dimensionalize this by month. Pretty straightforward what we're looking at here. Then what we've actually come down here done is add additional drivers, whether it be my annual fees, my late fees, right? Things that we know based on the cards we're at. So just giving it more data to be able to get a more accurate model. And from there, again, visualization. If you're just looking at all that data, you might not understand Well, does this make sense? Here we can see, yeah, it does make sense. We can see very poor FICO score kind of drops off as expected as we get later towards, month 36. So again, just being able to set our drivers, understand where we're at with those drivers, and then we can move in to our data, right? The first thing we're looking at here is something a little different, right? We know we have to bring in all of our card, our data right here, which is all the historical data based on, our credit cards. We know we have to bring that in. That makes sense. But what we're adding here, again, is thinking more of the operational side. So we're actually incorporating marketing campaigns into this model. Pretty straightforward, right? We have a certain campaign and expected new accounts based on this campaign and giving more dimensionality to it, right? Where, which region, what card are we using, which entity does this fall under? And you can quickly and easy add another one in here. So it's not just drivers, data, results. It's driver data, additional data that makes sense, that would give you more information for your model. Then we go ahead and bring in that historical, and what we're going to get from there is now a nice model built out that gives us a good waterfall view of where we're at with our data. So now we can see, based on the drivers, based on those marketing campaigns, based on our historical data, now we can see where we're going to be at for these particular pieces that we're modeling. In this case, revenue, annual fees, late fees, your fee revenue and interest revenue as well. We also have that, again, dimensionalized. So we can be able to quickly through these, having multiple tabs, multiple different reports stored. You can export this directly into Excel as well. We get that asked, that all the time. So again, just giving you the ability to do some of that modeling and add more value to your business within one platform, right? Bring the data in one time, utilize it anywhere that needs to be used, and then add context to data that you might not have from the GL. One of the things that I hear all the time in my meetings is, I want to know what the GL won't tell me. That's why OneStream allows you to bring in the operational data, allows you to add that and roll that up right to your financial data and be able to model and plan on that as well. If you just look at your ledger or GL data, I think we all know that won't give you the most accurate view because there's just so much more data out there. We have a platform that's built and designed to ingest all of that data the way it needs to be without sacrificing performance and allowing you to do the job, make quicker business decisions based on that data. Now, the last thing that I really want to talk about in here is really just kind of looking at our non-interest expense. Now, I like to show this because it gives the diversity of the platform, what we can really do. Again, ease of use, consistency. We have our drivers, right? Whether it be our salary, our benefits, our taxes driver, again, dimensionalized even by scenario. We then have the same people plan that we may be using, right? We have a people planning solution within OneStream. You can see we're bringing all this data, right? Insert whatever system you may use, UKG, ADP, but we do people planning right within the platform. So a lot of times we're actually bringing in and using that information multiple places. We might have the HR team might be doing people planning right within OneStream. We're just going to utilize that same data to be able to do something, like the non-interest expense in this case. So we have our drivers, we've brought in our data, and now we have nice visualizations behind that. So if we take a look at, what we're looking at here, again, consistency of use. We have our scenario and our region, and we can understand more of a blend between our financial data and our operational data, right? Where are we looking at in New York City, right? What's our budget? What's our number? How are we meeting that? And even get down even further by position, right? How much are we spending on a certain position? Are we better? Are we worse? We want commentary in here, giving you nice visualizations of where we sit, and even getting into some of that more that human capital management, right? Where do I sit with my blend of, gender or ethnicity or age range? All of those things can be done within OneStream. So really, that was maybe 20, 25 minutes, high level overview of what the platform can do, what it has done for our customers. The pieces that I want to recap and really hit on here are that we're flexible. We don't build the box. We don't fit you in the box, right? We build it around you. We have the ability to bring in data from anywhere, in any type of data, whether that be the financial data we're all used to, more of the operational data, or data that sits in a form on someone's desktop. We can bring that in, and blend that together to give you more insights into your business. And as you can see here, we're a platform. You heard it earlier, software built on software. So you can build the things that make sense to your business. Maybe you don't use, predictive analytics. That's not something you'd use in OneStream when you started. You can always add that in. We have a great marketplace to be able to always bring in new solutions and bring them into the fold quickly and easily so that you can start where it makes sense for you, bring value quickly, and then as you grow, utilize more tools within the platform. And we can do everything from, some of the things that I've mentioned today, right? You've seen these, our balance sheet planning, FTP, bringing in some of those rates and applying the balances. We can do a lot of the things that you need to do today that you may be using Excel or a combination of a different platform in Excel. What we're trying to do is bring that into one platform that allows it to be auditable, secure, and sustainable now and into the future as you grow. And that is the presentation that I wanted to show you guys today. Now I think I'm going to hand it back over.
Thank you, Brandon. As Brandon showed you, there could be tremendous value in deploying a fully unified cloud solution that manages both your regulatory reporting, financial reporting, FP&A, balance sheet planning, including funds transfer pricing, amortization, and instrument cash flow runoff. As a gold partner with OneStream, along with our banking expertise, Performance Analytics has built a banking implementation accelerator on top of this OneStream platform. With Perform.fi, our consultants can rapidly implement OneStream for banking, allowing you to choose the capabilities you need. And you can start with net interest margin planning to model out rate changes and the effect on new volume sales, refinancing, defaults. Net interest simulation and balance sheet planning off your loan book. Interest rate sensitivity analysis and stress testing your models. Or, as you saw just a moment ago, people planning, capital planning, along with the ability to allocate costs to business units and products. Or calculate funds transfer pricing to establish the cost and value of funds used. Using activity-based costing along with funds transfer pricing, you can also measure the profitability across customer segment, line of business, officer, product, and branch. Leveraging the OneStream platform, your solution will have the detailed auditability of all data, with drill down on the data, including the calculation models and detailed workflows and status tracking. Our banking implementation accelerator, Perform.fi, along with our banking expertise and the OneStream for banking, combine to reduce your cost to implement, as your project will leverage our proven implementation practices and allow you to realize the built-in financial intelligence that you've seen today. Working in your organization faster so you can appreciate the benefits of this solution. Well, this concludes our presentation, and I thank you for your attention. I'll now open it up for any questions. Oh, and please note, I'll be sending out my contact information along with a link to the recording of this webinar to all attendees. So do we have any questions? I'll open it up to our moderator.
Hi, it's Graham Finney here. I'll just run through some of the questions and I'll try to direct them to Brandon, Andrew, and Stephen.
Okay.
I appreciate some of these questions may have come up before we actually presented on their topics. So I think this first one was just answered in the last couple of slides, but they're asking for, they need balance sheet planning initially. Are they able to start there? Andrew, I think you just answered that, but I'll let you answer it again, just to be clear.
Thanks, Graham. So yes, you can start with any one of the bits of functionality that you would like. It's entirely up to you. Typically, we see an organization take a manageable chunk like balance sheet planning, carve out like a 3 to 6 month project and implement that to find some quick success and wins within their application. And then from there, you grow from there and add on whatever bits of functionality you would like. As you've seen, Brandon showed you a number of different aspects, even out to predictive analytics.
Okay. We already have a funds transfer pricing solution. What does your solution replace it, or does it integrate with it? And Brandon, I'll ask you.
Yeah. That's a great question. So it really depends on where you're at in your process. Right? If you already have an FTP solution, we can certainly integrate with that. Right? It really depends on where you're at. If you have something that's working, we can certainly integrate with that, and we do that today, right? Bringing in those rates, apply them to a balance, do some calculation for the interest expense, do things like pool funding. So we can certainly integrate. We are not a purpose-built FTP solution, but we can do a lot of the calculations that go along with that and bring in the data to be able to give you those calculations. Again, I think it really just depends on where you're at in the process, what tools you currently have, and that can be kind of discussed again, with partners such as Performance Analytics here, and then coming up with the best solution. But we're flexible around that.
Got a few questions along the lines of, and I'll just summarize it, but what's the cost and/or timeline to implement? Andrew?
Well, that's kind of an open-ended question, but thank you, Graham. The cost to implement really depends on your organization. As I mentioned earlier, typically we like to find a bite-sized chunk to start with first, so a 3 to 6 month project, and break it down into smaller wins to find success and build momentum within the organization. And that size could depend on the number of users, volume of data, and size of functionality that we're going to implement. Graham?
Okay. Our business has completely different lines of business, including wealth management, retail banking, and investment banking, and each of them plans differently. How do you manage these different plans? Brandon, I'll throw that to you.
Yeah, another great question. Really, OneStream is uniquely positioned to handle that. In some of the other applications, you may see multiple cubes sending data back and forth. Within OneStream, we have the ability to extend your dimensions. So what I mean by that is, at an investment banking level, you may plan very differently at different levels with different line items, different accounts. We allow you to do that, and any other department or division to do that as well, so you can plan at the level you need, but we automatically roll that all up to the corporate level as well. So the big part there is, yes, you can do it at any level, right? You may look at a report that has 5 different accounts rolling up to, interest income. Wealth management may have 6 different accounts added to that, or 5 different plus sub accounts. You can do all of that within OneStream, see what you need to see, plan at the level, report at the level you need to, without having to worry about, man, now I have to go translate all this back to corporate and give them a report that they need, and it takes a lot of non-value added time. Think of it as we extend the corporate account down, allow those different divisions to add accounts and plan at that level, and then we put it all back together up to the corporate level, and we do that in an automated fashion.
Thank you. And Stephen, let's hear from you on this one. Is there an audit trail on both data and calculations?
Yes, as Brandon had shown in the demo, and the term, I like the term he used, we're not a black box. At any intersection, any piece of data that you find in your application, you can drill down to the underlying information all the way back down to the original transaction in the ERP if you're connected via direct connect. So yeah, we can trace it all the way back to its origin. You can always see from an audit standpoint any changes, who did what, when they did it. So full auditability is key for a solution like ours.
Thank you. Is there a way to track differences between scenarios, Andrew?
Yeah, so just like you saw in the presentation, you can track your different scenarios. You can create different scenarios on the fly, even predictive scenarios, and be able to look at the differences, be able to see the spread between the two and the impact on the organization.
Thank you. Account reconciliations was mentioned. Does OneStream support the needs for in the banking industry, I guess is the question. And Andrew, do you want to take that?
Yes, account recs is one of the ones we're hearing are very popular coming from banks. It's a functionality that's available that on the marketplace solution that banks can install and get started with. It's a quick win. That could be something that could be up and running within that 3 to 6 week time frame.
Okay, and
I see one from Juan, Graham. Oh, you see that, okay.
how do you handle bottom-up and target planning? Are you able to allocate target financial measures into bottom-level drivers to keep them consistent? And Brandon, do you want to take that?
Yeah, no, I can certainly take that. So you saw me in the demonstration kind of do more of that, we'll call it top-down strategic. I put, I can allocate that down. So you can certainly see we can handle that and keep it consistent so everyone's using the right data, the same data. In terms of bottom up, we can also do that, right? So you can also seed all those low-level accounts, use whichever drivers you would like and be able to kind of more do what I would say what's more common, which is kind of that bottom up, pushing everything, rolling it all up, making the changes as you see fit as you go there, using that same process. So still using our drivers and then being able to apply that to all of the lower level accounts as well. So we're not just seeing, okay, that high level, that's great, but I want to see how it affects some of those lower level accounts. You can certainly do that. And the way we keep it consistent is, again, using different scenarios, but knowing that everyone's using, right? So when we make changes to a certain scenario, there's security behind who can make those changes. When you allocate down, right, they maybe only see those changes and not make changes to that so they can, understand I'm using the same data in the same scenario. So, it's really a combination of security and the flexibility of the platform to be able to utilize the drivers at a bottom up and top down approach.
Thank you. And I think this is the last one, but we have many different people managing their own models in spreadsheets. Who would manage the OneStream solution? Stephen?
Yeah, so OneStream provides for a framework whereby an admin or a group of admins can manage the system pretty unilaterally. And the advantage is they have visibility into all those processes that are done on disparate spreadsheets all over the organization previously. So the fact that they have that kind of centrally located area to have access to admin, all that is a huge key. We also do have partners that will provide some level of managed services as well if you're looking to outsource such a thing. But for the most part, most of our customers have their own in-house admins.
Okay. And actually, one more just came in. We have models that take a long time to calculate. I'm guessing that means in spreadsheets. Can OneStream do it faster? And Brandon, we'll let you take that one.
Well, I'll pass it off to Stephen and Brandon to also give their experience. But my experience, yeah, OneStream can manage all your models and does it more efficiently. It has so many different ways that we can optimize those calculations in a multi-threaded capacity. It also manages all of those calculations such that from an end user standpoint, it seems virtually instantaneous. Stephen or Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, I can add there, really, you saw me talk about it, right? We have the ability to store data at both relational and more of that financial and blend those up. And that gives us a very unique ability to be able to, calculate models very quickly. Certainly in-memory processing is definitely something that helps with that. And we have customers that, specifically, that was one of the pieces why they ended up going with us is our ability to bring in large amounts of data, store that in a way that makes sense, and run those models without sacrificing performance. So we're definitely architected for that, and we have customers who've selected us based on that alone.
Well, that seems to be it for questions, unless anybody's got some more. Andrew, if you want to wrap it up.
No, thank you very much, Graham. Thank you everybody for attending. Please note I'll be sending out my contact information along with a link to the recording to all of the attendees of this webinar. And thank you once again and have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.